Welcome back to Whispers in the Dark. People in Briar Glen still warn their children never to follow a yellow light through the woods. They tell them that lightning does not crawl beneath bushes. They tell them that thunder does not laugh. And they tell them that if they ever hear a small, sweet voice whispering from the darkness, they must not answer, no matter how frightened or alone they feel, because something lives beneath the trees, beyond the abandoned Blackpine Power Station. Something small, something hungry, something that learned long ago that human beings stop running when enough electricity is poured through their bones. So turn down the lights, put on your headphones, and turn the volume up. This is the story of the thing beneath Black Pine. Now, let's begin. The first body was found on a Monday morning in October. It lay beside a service road 2 miles north of Briar Glen, half hidden beneath wet leaves and silver strands of morning fog. A delivery driver named Owen Markham spotted one black shoe protruding from a drainage ditch and stopped his van, believing someone had been injured. He climbed down the muddy slope, calling out before he saw the rest. The dead man was face down in the ditch. His coat had been torn open from the back. His shirt was blackened in wide circular patches, and his skin had split around those burns in branching patterns that resembled the roots of a dead tree. Owen later told the police that the body smelled like spoiled meat, left inside an oven. The dead man's right arm was missing below the elbow. Not cut, not crushed, chewed. The bone had been cracked open, exposing pale marrow that had been scraped almost clean. Owen stumbled backward and vomited into the weeds. That was when he noticed the footprints. They were small, too small to belong to a person. Each print had 3 narrow toes and a rounded pad. They emerged from the ditch, crossed the mud, and disappeared into the forest. Between them were tiny black scorch marks. The dead man was identified as Nathan Cole, a surveyor hired by the county to inspect the condemned Blackpine Power Station. Nathan had entered the property alone the previous afternoon. His equipment was found scattered inside the station. His flashlight had melted into a shapeless lump. His radio had been crushed beneath something with sharp teeth. His blood led from the central turbine chamber to an open maintenance tunnel beneath the eastern generator hall. The police searched the tunnel for 6 hours. They found nothing. 3 days later, another person disappeared. Then another. By the end of the month, Briar Glen had stopped letting children walk home from school. The town itself sat inside a valley surrounded by endless pine forests. In summer, it was bright and quiet, a place of garden fences, wooden porches, and narrow streets where everyone knew the sound of everyone else's car. But autumn changed Briar Glen. Fog gathered between the houses. Rain drummed against the roofs for days at a time. The surrounding forest darkened until the trees looked less like trees and more like tall figures standing shoulder to shoulder. Blackpine Power Station stood beyond those woods. It had been built beside a fast-moving river nearly 60 years earlier. Once, it had powered 3 counties. Then, a fire destroyed its lower control rooms, killing 11 workers and contaminating the surrounding land. The station closed. The river was diverted. The road was abandoned. For decades, the building remained untouched. Its smokestacks rose above the trees like the fingers of a buried giant. Most people believed the place was empty. Dr. Lena Voss knew better. Lena was 36 years old. With dark hair she tied tightly behind her head, and tired green eyes that always looked as if she had not slept enough. She worked as a wildlife pathologist for the Regional Conservation Authority. Most of her days were spent examining animals found dead near roads, rivers, and farms. Disease outbreaks, illegal poisonings, strange mutations near industrial sites. She had seen deer born without eyes, foxes with black growths covering their jaws, birds whose organs had liquefied after drinking from polluted ponds. But when the Briar Glen police sent her photographs of Nathan Cole's body, she stared at them for nearly an hour. The injuries did not match any known predator. The bite radius was too small for a wolf. The teeth had pierced too deeply for a fox. The burns were stranger still. Electrical injuries usually entered through one point and left through another. Nathan's body showed dozens of separate points of contact. Whatever attacked him had shocked him repeatedly. Lena enlarged one photograph. Near the dead man's shoulder was a partial bite mark, 2 long incisors, several smaller teeth, a jaw shaped almost like that of a rodent. Almost. Her assistant, Marcus Rook, stood behind her. Marcus was 28, broad-shouldered, and usually impossible to frighten. He had grown up around farm animals and had once stitched his own palm after being bitten by a trapped badger. Now he stared at the photograph with his arms folded. "That did not come from anything living around here," he said. Lena looked toward the window of their laboratory. Rain ran down the glass. Everything comes from somewhere. They arrived in Briar Glen the following afternoon. Sheriff Elias Ward met them outside the station. Ward was a heavy man with a gray beard and a face hardened by sleeplessness. He carried a shotgun despite Lena's warning that firearms could make a frightened animal more dangerous. "You can tell me to put it away," Ward said, "but I am not walking into that place unarmed." Behind him stood 2 deputies. One was Nolan Finch, a young man with pale skin and restless eyes. The other was Nora Pike, a former military medic who kept one hand close to the pistol on her hip. Ward led them through the broken outer gates. Blackpine Power Station loomed ahead. Rainwater streamed down its stained concrete walls. Hundreds of dark windows stared from the building. Rusted pipes crawled along the exterior like veins. The main doors had been forced open during the original search. Inside, the air was colder. Their footsteps echoed through the entrance hall. Old safety posters hung from the walls. Rusted lockers stood open. The floor was covered in dead leaves blown through shattered windows. Lena noticed the smell immediately. Dust, mold, stagnant water, and something else, a faint, bitter odor. Marcus sniffed the air. Burned plastic. No, Lena said. She moved closer to the wall and found a small patch of yellow fur stuck to a protruding screw. She removed it with tweezers. The strand was coarse at the tip, but soft near the root. Ward leaned over her shoulder. Recognize it. Lena placed the fur inside a sample tube. Not yet. They continued into the generator hall. Massive machines filled the chamber. Their metal bodies were covered with rust and moisture. Chains hung from the ceiling. Broken control panels lined the walls. Nathan Cole's blood remained visible on the floor. A brown trail crossed the chamber and disappeared behind a turbine. Lena crouched beside it. The blood pattern suggested Nathan had been dragged, not pulled by the legs, pulled by the missing arm. Nearby, the concrete was covered in shallow scratches. Marcus placed his fingers beside them. Claw marks. Too regular, Lena said. Those are from movement. It dragged its claws while pulling him. Ward looked toward the maintenance tunnel. The opening was barely 4 feet high. A darkness deeper than the rest of the room waited inside. We sealed that after the first search, Ward said. The metal barrier they had installed was lying on the floor. Its edges were melted. Nora raised her flashlight. The beam entered the tunnel. Something moved far inside. Nolan flinched. What was that? A sound drifted from the darkness. Soft, high-pitched, almost playful. Pika. Everyone froze. The noise came again. Closer. Pika. Marcus looked at Lena. That sounded like a voice. No, Ward whispered. It sounded like a child. Lena stepped toward the tunnel. The smell of burned plastic grew stronger. Then the lights on their equipment flickered. Marcus's camera turned off. Ward's radio screamed with static. The hair on Lena's arms lifted. Move away from the opening, she said. 2 red lights appeared inside the tunnel. At first, Lena thought they were reflections. Then they blinked. A small shape rushed toward them. Nora fired. The gunshot filled the chamber. The thing vanished behind a pipe. Something struck Nora from the side. A yellow blur collided with her chest and threw her onto her back. The creature landed on top of her. For one impossible second, everyone saw it clearly. It was no larger than a house cat. Its body was covered in filthy yellow fur, matted with blood and black grease. Its ears were long and pointed, their tips burned almost bare. A jagged tail rose behind it, shaped like a crooked bolt of lightning. Its cheeks were swollen red circles of flesh. They pulsed like infected wounds. Its forelimbs ended in dark claws. Its mouth was far too wide. The lips split open almost to its ears, revealing rows of narrow teeth surrounding two enormous incisors. Nora screamed. The creature placed its paws against her throat. Blue light flashed beneath its skin. Electricity exploded through her body. Nora's back arched so violently that her head struck the floor. Every muscle in her face tightened. Her teeth snapped together. The smell of burning hair filled the chamber. The creature watched her convulse. Then it laughed. Pika, Pika. Marcus kicked it. The creature flew from Nora's chest and struck the side of the turbine. It landed on all fours. Its red cheeks brightened. Lena saw anger in its eyes. Not animal fear. Not confusion. Anger. Run, she shouted. Electricity burst from the creature in a blinding wave. It struck the metal machines and traveled through the hall. Nolan touched a railing and was thrown backward. His uniform ignited across one shoulder. Ward grabbed him and dragged him toward the exit. Marcus seized Nora beneath the arms. Lena followed. Behind them, the creature crawled onto the turbine. It watched them flee. Its mouth opened. A strip of human skin hung between its teeth. Nora survived the first attack. Barely. The electrical shock had disrupted her heart and caused burns across her neck, chest, and back. Her left shoulder had been dislocated during the convulsions. She was transported to the nearest hospital. Nolan suffered burns to his hand and arm. By sunset, Sheriff Ward had blocked every road leading to Blackpine. He wanted the building burned. Lena objected. They did not know what the creature was or whether more existed. Fire could drive it into the forest. Ward did not care. That thing smiled at us, he said. Animals do not smile while they kill. They gathered inside the Briar Glen police station. Lena examined the yellow fur under a portable microscope. The structure resembled mammalian hair, but each strand contained thin metallic deposits. Copper, iron, trace amounts of something she could not identify. Marcus placed Nathan Cole's photographs beside her. It stores electricity in its body, he said, possibly in those cheek structures, like organs, more like biological capacitors. Ward stared at them. You are telling me that monster is a living battery. I am telling you that its body evolved or was altered to produce and store electrical energy. Altered by what? Lena looked toward the rain outside. That station was used for more than power generation. Ward's expression changed. He unlocked a filing cabinet and removed an old folder. Inside were records recovered from the mayor's office. Blackpine had once contained a private research facility beneath the main building. The company operating the station had partnered with a biotechnology organization called Solace Dynamics. The official purpose was to study animals capable of generating natural electricity. Electric eels, rays, specialized insects, but several documents referred to another subject. Specimen P. No species was listed. No origin was given. The final report was dated 3 days before the station fire. It contained only one sentence. Specimen P has begun consuming staff. The lower facility was sealed immediately after the fire. It had remained sealed for 42 years, until Nathan Cole opened the maintenance tunnel during his survey. Ward read the report twice. So it has been living down there all this time. Marcus shook his head. Nothing that size survives 40 years without food. Lena thought of the missing arm, unless it was not always alone. That night, every telephone in Briar Glen rang at the same time. People answered and heard only static. Then a faint voice. Pika. The power failed seconds later. Darkness swallowed the town. Streetlights went black. Home alarms died. Hospital generators activated, failed, then activated again. Sheriff Ward ordered everyone indoors. Lena and Marcus remained at the police station with Nolan and 4 additional officers. Emergency. Lanterns cast pale circles of light across the walls. Rain hammered the roof. The radio channels were filled with static. At 9:17, someone knocked on the front door. 3 soft taps. Everyone looked toward the entrance. Nolan raised his pistol. Ward approached the window. No one stood outside. The knocking came again, this time from the rear door. An officer named Jonah Reed moved down the hallway to check it. They heard him unlock the door. Then silence. Jonah, Ward called. No answer. A wet chewing sound came from the hallway. Nolan moved first. They found Jonah sitting against the wall. His eyes were open. Smoke rose from his mouth. The creature crouched in his lap, eating his tongue. It held the slippery muscle between its paws and tore pieces away with rapid bites. Jonah's body twitched each time its claws touched him. His uniform trousers were dark with urine. The creature turned. Blood covered its face. Its ears lifted. Pika. Nolan fired 3 times. The first bullet struck the wall. The second grazed the creature's ear. The third struck Jonah's chest. The creature rushed forward. Nolan screamed and emptied the weapon. The small yellow body moved between the bullets. It leapt onto the wall, clung there for an instant, then launched itself at his face. Its claws entered beneath his chin. Its teeth closed around his cheek. Nolan fell backward. The creature ripped away a strip of flesh from his mouth to his ear. He shrieked. It bit again. This time, its incisors entered his eye. Lena saw the eye collapse between its teeth. Marcus struck the creature with a chair. It flew across the room, rolled, and vanished beneath a desk. Blue light flickered below the furniture. Do not touch anything metal, Lena shouted. The electrical blast shattered every bulb. Darkness returned. Nolan screamed from the floor. Something scurried across the walls. Claws scratched above them. Ward fired his shotgun toward the ceiling. The muzzle flash revealed the creature, hanging upside down from a light fixture. Its head rotated toward him. Electricity crawled across its teeth. Then it dropped onto Ward's shoulders. He grabbed it with both hands. His fingers sank into its filthy fur. The cheek organs flashed. Ward convulsed. The shock locked his hands around the creature, preventing him from releasing it. Smoke burst from beneath his collar. His beard caught fire. The creature pressed its mouth against the side of his neck and chewed through his carotid artery. Blood sprayed across the wall. The electrical current continued to pulse through him, making the blood jump from the wound in bright, rhythmic bursts. Marcus dragged Lena through the rear door. They ran into the rain. Behind them, the station windows glowed blue. The creature's voice followed them. Pika, Pika, Pika. They reached Lena's vehicle. The engine would not start. Every electronic system had been drained. Marcus looked back. The police station door stood open. A small silhouette appeared beneath the porch light. The creature stepped into the rain. Water hissed when it touched its fur. Its red cheeks glowed. Lena and Marcus ran. Briar Glen had become a town without light. Families hid behind locked doors. Cars sat dead in the streets. The only illumination came from candles and lightning flashing above the valley. Lena and Marcus moved between houses, avoiding fences, power lines, and standing water. The creature followed. Sometimes they heard it behind them, sometimes above them. It traveled across roofs, gutters, tree branches, and telephone cables. Whenever lightning lit the sky, they caught glimpses of yellow fur. At the corner of Mill Street, a woman opened her front door. "Help us," Lena shouted. "Let us inside." The woman waved them forward. A small shape dropped from the roof behind her. Lena screamed a warning. The creature landed on the woman's head. Its claws sank into her scalp. She stumbled backward into the house. The creature discharged. Every window flashed blue. The woman fell inside. Her young son stood in the hallway behind her. The creature looked at him. The boy was perhaps 8 years old. He held a stuffed animal against his chest. For a moment, the monster did nothing. The boy stared at its pointed ears and yellow fur. His fear softened into confused recognition. "Pikachu." The creature tilted its head. Its mouth opened. The boy smiled weakly. The creature jumped onto him. Lena reached the doorway as the electricity struck. The child's small body stiffened. His eyes rolled upward. His mother lay nearby, unable to move, but still conscious. She watched as the creature tore through her son's throat. His blood ran across the floor and mixed with rainwater. Lena grabbed a heavy ceramic lamp. She smashed it over the creature's back. It hissed and spun toward her. Marcus pulled Lena outside before it could attack. The mother's screams followed them down the street. Then another electric flash filled the house. The screaming stopped. They took shelter inside the Briar Glen Library. The building was old, built from stone and thick timber. Lena locked the entrance while Marcus searched for anything they could use as a weapon. They found candles, a fire axe, and an old emergency radio. The radio produced only static. Marcus sat beside a reading table. Blood covered his sleeve. Lena examined him. A claw had opened his upper arm during the police station attack. The wound was deep, but clean. She wrapped it with cloth torn from a curtain. "What did the boy call it?" Marcus asked. "Pikachu. You know what that means." Lena did. Everyone did. Pikachu was a species known for storing electricity inside specialized cheek sacs. Small, intelligent, and normally social, they had lived beside human beings for generations. But the thing inside Briar Glen did not look like any healthy Pikachu. Its limbs were too long. Its jaw was deformed. Its teeth were wrong. Its body seemed shaped by starvation, isolation, and repeated mutation. "It was one once," Lena said. Marcus looked toward the windows. "What happened to it?" Lena remembered the report. "Specimen P has begun consuming staff. They taught it what people taste like." Something bumped against the library door. Marcus gripped the axe. Another bump. Then a scratching sound moved along the outside wall. Lena extinguished all but one candle. They listened. The scratching reached a window. A small paw pressed against the glass. 3 dark claws dragged slowly downward. "Pika," the creature whispered. Marcus raised the axe. The paw disappeared. Silence. Then the sound came from the opposite side of the room. "Pika." It was inside. Lena turned. The creature sat on top of a bookshelf. It had entered through a ventilation opening near the ceiling. Its fur was wet. Blood dripped from its mouth. Something pale hung from its jaws. A child's finger. It chewed twice and swallowed. Marcus threw the axe. The creature jumped. The axe struck the shelf and buried itself in the wood. Books tumbled to the floor. The creature landed on a table. It arched its back. Sparks crawled through its fur. Lena grabbed a fire extinguisher and released a cloud of white chemicals into its face. The creature shrieked. Its voice rose into a piercing scream that barely sounded alive. It discharged blindly. Electricity struck shelves, lamps, and metal supports. A fire began in the corner. Marcus tackled Lena behind a stone reception desk. The creature rushed through the smoke. Marcus swung a wooden chair leg. The blow struck its ribs. Something cracked. The monster rolled across the floor. Lena saw an open book beside it. A photograph showed several cheerful Pikachu gathered around a trainer. The creature saw it too. It crawled closer. Its claws touched the page. For the first time, the rage in its eyes disappeared. It stared at the picture. A low sound came from its throat. Not a growl, a whimper. Lena stood slowly. The creature looked up. Its face tightened. It tore the page apart. Then it attacked. It crossed the distance in a blur and struck Marcus below the knee. Its teeth entered his calf. He shouted and tried to kick it away. The creature held on. Its jaw opened wider. The skin around its mouth split further, exposing glistening muscle. It bit through tendons. Marcus fell. Electricity flowed into his leg. His body seized. Lena emptied the fire extinguisher over the creature. It released him and retreated into the smoke. The library fire spread rapidly. Old paper caught with a dry roar. Lena dragged Marcus toward the rear exit. His right leg would not support him. Flames climbed the shelves. The creature followed from above, moving across the tops of the bookcases. Its outline appeared and vanished behind smoke. A beam collapsed behind them. Burning books scattered across the floor. They reached the exit. The metal handle was already charged. Lena stopped before touching it. She wrapped her coat around her hand and kicked the door instead. It opened onto an alley. She pulled Marcus through. The creature leapt from the smoke. A burning strip of paper clung to its fur. It landed several feet away. For an instant, its entire body caught fire. The thing screamed and rolled through the rain. Lena dragged Marcus away. The library burned behind them. The creature did not follow. By midnight, survivors had gathered at Briar Glen Elementary School. The school stood on a hill near the southern edge of town and had been chosen because it contained a manual heating system, thick doors, and few exterior power lines. Nearly 80 people crowded into the gymnasium. Children cried beneath blankets. Adults whispered beside candles. 3 police officers guarded the entrances. The mayor, Helen Crow, attempted to maintain order. Lena and Marcus arrived through the loading entrance. Marcus was carried to the nurse's office. The creature's bite had severed muscle in his leg, but the bone remained intact. Lena stitched the wound while he gripped the sides of the cot. "We have to leave town," he said. "The vehicles are dead. Then we walk, with children and injured people, through the forest." Marcus looked at her. "Staying here is worse." The gymnasium doors opened. Mayor Crow entered with a folder in her hands. She was 62, thin, and dressed in a rain-soaked wool coat. "I know what that creature is," she said. Lena faced her. Helen placed the folder on a table. It contained photographs taken inside the Blackpine laboratory before the fire. The first showed a young Pikachu inside a glass enclosure. It looked healthy. Bright fur, round cheeks, clear eyes. A handwritten label identified it as P7. The second photograph showed electrodes implanted around its skull. The third showed its body strapped to a steel table. Its mouth was open in a scream. Scientists stood around it. The final photograph had been taken months later. P7 crouched inside a blood-stained cage. Its fur had begun to fall out. Its teeth had grown longer. A human hand lay inside the enclosure. Solace Dynamics wanted a living weapon, Helen said. They believed Pikachu could be conditioned to incapacitate enemy soldiers. They increased its electrical capacity, altered its aggression, and fed it flesh. Human flesh, Lena asked. Prisoners, missing people. Anyone the company could erase. Marcus stared at the pictures. The fire was not an accident. Helen shook her head. The researchers lost control. P7 escaped and killed 26 people. The company sealed the underground facility and overloaded the generators to bury the evidence. But the creature survived, Lena said. Helen's eyes lowered. Several creatures survived. She showed them another record. 7 Pikachu had been used in the program. 6 were sealed underground with P7. The researchers expected them to die. Instead, P7 ate them. Years passed. Rats entered the facility. Birds nested in ventilation shafts. Stray animals wandered through drainage pipes. P7 consumed everything. The electrical experiments had changed its metabolism. It could enter periods of deep dormancy and survive for years without feeding. When Nathan Cole opened the maintenance tunnel, he released it. Lena studied the final photograph again. A metal collar surrounded P7's neck. Can it be controlled? Helen hesitated. The collar responded to a signal generated from the lower control room. It was designed to trigger a seizure if the creature became disobedient. Does the system still exist? The control room is beneath Blackpine. Marcus laughed bitterly. So we return to its nest. If the collar is still attached, Lena said, the signal might weaken or kill it. A scream came from the gymnasium. Lena ran toward the sound. The lights had returned. Every lamp inside the school flickered with a pale blue glow. People stood and looked upward. The electrical system should not have been functioning. The speakers above the basketball court crackled. Static filled the room. Then a small voice spoke through every speaker. Pika. The gymnasium doors slammed shut. The creature had entered through the electrical conduits. It crawled from a ceiling vent and dropped onto a hanging light fixture. Burned fur covered one side of its body. The skin beneath was black and blistered. One ear hung torn. Its eyes fixed on Lena. It remembered her. Mayor Crow shouted for everyone to remain calm. The creature's cheeks flashed. Every light exploded. Glass rained onto the crowd. Panic spread instantly. People rushed toward the exits. Children were knocked down. Parents screamed names into the darkness. The creature leapt into the crowd. Electricity flashed. A dozen people collapsed at once. The creature landed on an elderly man's chest and tore open his lower jaw. It pulled the jawbone downward until the skin split along both cheeks. Then it thrust its face into his mouth. The man's legs kicked against the floor. People trampled him while the creature fed. Lena pushed through the crowd. she found a fire hose cabinet and broke the glass. Water would be dangerous while the creature was discharging, but it might also direct the electricity away from the crowd if she could force it toward a grounded structure. Marcus limped into the gym with the axe. The creature saw him. It abandoned the dead man and rushed across the floor. Marcus waited. When it jumped, he swung. The blade caught the creature across the side. Blood sprayed onto the polished floor. The axe did not cut deeply enough to kill it, but the force threw it against the wall. The creature fell. Its limbs twitched. A deep wound opened behind its front leg. The blood that emerged was almost black. Blue sparks snapped inside it. Marcus approached. "Stay back," Lena shouted. The creature's eyes opened. It discharged directly into him. The shock lifted Marcus from the floor. He flew backward and struck the lower bleachers. His head snapped against the wood. The creature limped toward him. Lena opened the fire hose. Water struck its body. Electricity traveled through the stream. The metal cabinet sparked. Lena was thrown against the wall. Her hands went numb. Her heart pounded unevenly. The creature turned toward the fleeing crowd. It released another blast. A woman carrying an infant collapsed near the exit. The infant rolled from her arms. The creature approached it. The baby cried. For a moment, the creature simply stared. The sound appeared to confuse it. It lowered its head and sniffed. The infant reached toward its yellow fur. The creature's mouth opened. Mayor Crow struck it with a wooden crutch. The creature spun. It climbed her body in 3 rapid movements. Claws entered her stomach. Teeth closed around her nose. Helen screamed. The creature pulled backward and tore the center of her face away. Blood poured over her lips. She fell to her knees. The creature placed both paws against her temples. Its cheeks glowed. Lena knew what was coming. Helen's eyes met hers. "Blackpine," she tried to say. Electricity burst through her skull. Her eyes ruptured. Dark fluid streamed down her cheeks. The creature released her and turned toward the infant again. Lena seized the child and ran. The gymnasium became a slaughterhouse. The Pikachu moved through the crowd with terrible speed. It shocked groups of people until their muscles locked, then selected victims one at a time. It tore through throats, opened stomachs, bit fingers from reaching hands. It seemed especially interested in faces. It ate eyes, lips, tongues, and cheeks. Perhaps because those parts were soft. Perhaps because it understood that human beings feared losing the features that made them recognizable. By the time Lena reached Marcus, nearly 20 people were dead. He was conscious but disoriented. Blood ran from the back of his head. "We need the control room," she said. Marcus looked at the creature, feeding near the bleachers. "How do we get there?" "Give it what it wants." They escaped through the school kitchen with 12 survivors. The others scattered into the night. Lena carried the infant until they found the child's father near the football field. The Pikachu followed the largest group of fleeing people toward the southern road. That gave Lena and Marcus time. They returned to Blackpine. Only 3 others came with them. Nora Pike had left the hospital after the generators failed. Her neck was wrapped in bandages, and one side of her face trembled from nerve damage. Father Adrian Bell, the town priest, carried a hunting rifle and a bag of medical supplies. The final member was Samuel Crow, Mayor Crow's older brother, and a retired engineer who had worked at Blackpine before the fire. Samuel blamed himself for what had happened. He had known about the lower laboratory. He had helped seal it. "I heard them screaming down there," he said as they crossed the forest. "Not the people, the Pikachu. They cried for hours after the doors closed. Rain fell through the trees. Their flashlights remained off to avoid attracting the creature. Samuel guided them by memory. They reached the station shortly before 2 in the morning. The entrance stood open. Inside, Nathan Cole's dried blood still crossed the generator hall. Samuel led them to the maintenance tunnel. They crouched and entered. The passage descended beneath the station. Old cables covered the walls. Water dripped from overhead. The air smelled of decay. After 200 feet, the tunnel opened into the underground laboratory. The rooms had been hidden behind reinforced concrete. Glass enclosures lined the walls. Rust covered surgical tables. Chains hung from metal frames. The floor was littered with bones. Some were animal, others were human. Lena found a child's skull beneath a desk. Tiny tooth marks covered the forehead. Father Adrian whispered a prayer. Samuel pointed toward a door at the far end of the laboratory. "The control room is through there." A sound moved beneath the floor. Scratching. Nora raised her pistol. "Is it here?" Lena looked at the bones. "No, something else is." A ventilation grate burst upward. A pale creature climbed from the opening. It had once been a Pikachu. Its yellow fur was almost completely gone. Its limbs were thin, twisted, and fused at strange angles. Its eyes had been eaten away, leaving wet pits. Half its body was missing. The lower spine dragged behind it. It opened a toothless mouth. A weak spark flickered inside its cheek. Another malformed Pikachu emerged behind it. Then another. P7 had eaten the others, but not completely. The experiments had made them difficult to kill. They had survived as broken things, feeding on insects, rats, and pieces of one another. They crawled toward the group. Nora fired. The first creature's head burst apart. The others continued. One seized Father Adrian's ankle. Its gums clamped around his boot. Another climbed Samuel's back. He screamed as its claws entered his neck. Marcus struck it with the axe. The body split open. A mass of black organs spilled across Samuel's shoulder. The remaining creatures released weak electrical pulses. Lena's muscles tightened. She fell against the wall. Father Adrian fired repeatedly. The malformed Pikachu dragged themselves through the gunfire. One climbed onto his chest, its ruined face pressed against his mouth. He tried to push it away. A spark passed between them. His body stiffened. The creature crawled into his mouth. Its narrow shoulders forced his jaw open. The skin split at the corners of his lips. Father Adrian gagged as the creature pushed deeper. Its hind legs kicked against his teeth. His throat expanded. A yellow claw appeared beneath the skin of his neck. Lena grabbed the creature by the hips and pulled. Its claws tore through his tongue. Blood flooded from his mouth. Marcus crushed its skull with the axe. Father Adrian collapsed, choking. Samuel opened the control room door. Inside, they dragged Father Adrian with them and sealed the door. The remaining creatures scratched against the other side. The control room was filled with dead monitors and old switches. At the center stood a console connected to a circular antenna system. Samuel examined the machinery. The station is dead. Can we power it? Lena asked. The emergency generators were beneath the river intake. They may still work. Where? Samuel pointed to a map. A lower chamber sat another level beneath them. Nora checked her ammunition. I will go. Marcus shook his head. You can barely stand. None of us can. Father Adrian coughed on the floor. Blood covered his chin. Lena bandaged his mouth and throat, but his breathing sounded wet. We split up, Samuel said. Someone must remain here and activate the signal when power returns. I will stay, Father Adrian whispered. Lena looked at him. His injuries were severe. He knew he would not survive. Samuel showed him the control sequence. Then Lena, Marcus, Nora, and Samuel entered the lower corridor. The tunnels beneath Blackpine were warmer. Old steam pipes lined the walls. The group descended metal stairs into the river intake chamber. Dark water filled half the room. A narrow walkway crossed above it. Samuel located the emergency generator on the opposite side. As they crossed, something splashed below them. Nora aimed her light at the water. Yellow fur drifted beneath the surface. Then the creature climbed onto the walkway behind them. P7 had returned. Pieces of fresh flesh hung from its mouth. Its wound from the axe had stopped bleeding. The torn skin was already closing around the injury. The Pikachu stared at Lena. Its lips curled upward. Pika, Nora fired. The bullet struck its shoulder. The creature released a blast. Electricity entered the wet metal walkway. Nora was closest. Her entire body flashed blue. Her skin split along old burn wounds. She fell against the railing. The Pikachu rushed toward her. Nora tried to raise her pistol. Her fingers would not move. The creature climbed onto her chest. She stared into its red eyes. You ugly little thing, she whispered. It bit through her lower lip. Nora screamed. The creature pulled the lip away and swallowed it. Then it chewed into her chin. Its incisors scraped against bone. Marcus charged with the axe. The creature discharged again. Marcus fell to one knee, but continued forward. He struck it with the wooden handle. The Pikachu flew over the railing. It twisted in the air and caught the edge with one paw. Nora looked down at it. Blood poured from her mouth. She forced her numb hand to move. Her fingers closed around its wrist. The creature hissed. Electricity crawled up her arm. Nora did not release it. She pulled herself closer. Now, Marcus lifted the axe. The creature bit through Nora's fingers. 3 fell into the water. She screamed, but held on with the remaining hand. Marcus swung. The blade struck the creature's forearm. Bone cracked. The paw separated. P7 fell into the dark water. The chamber exploded with blue light. Electricity spread across the surface. Dead fish floated upward. Nora collapsed. Her heart had stopped. Lena tried to revive her, but the damage was too great. Samuel reached the generator. He opened the fuel line and pulled the manual starter. Nothing happened. He tried again. The machine coughed. The Pikachu climbed from the water behind him. Half its fur had burned away. Its severed arm ended in a smoking stump. It moved more slowly now, but it still smiled. Samuel saw it reflected in the generator's metal casing. "Start it," Lena shouted. Samuel pulled the starter again. The generator roared to life. Lights flickered through the chamber. The Pikachu leapt onto Samuel's back. Its remaining claws sank into his shoulders. It shocked him. Samuel's body convulsed against the machine. The creature bit into the back of his neck. Vertebrae cracked. It tore away a piece of spinal cord. Samuel's legs collapsed instantly. The Pikachu dropped with him, chewing. The antenna system activated above them. A deep vibration passed through the station. The creature stopped feeding. The metal collar around its neck began to pulse. It looked upward. For the first time, true fear appeared in its eyes. Father Adrian activated the signal. The Pikachu screamed. Its body twisted. Electricity burst uncontrollably from its cheeks. The collar tightened around its throat. Marcus grabbed Lena. "Move." They ran toward the stairs. Behind them, the creature thrashed beside Samuel's body. Its electrical discharge struck the emergency generator. The machine exploded. Fire rolled across the chamber. The signal stopped. Darkness returned. The Pikachu rose. Smoke curled from its fur. The collar had burned deep into its neck, but it remained alive. It looked toward the stairs. Lena and Marcus climbed. The creature followed. They reached the control room. The door stood open. The malformed Pikachu had entered. Father Adrian lay dead beside the console. His abdomen had been torn apart. Several small bodies moved inside the opening. They burrowed between his ribs, eating his organs. Marcus poured fuel from an emergency canister across the laboratory floor. "What are you doing?" Lena asked. "Ending it." The station's Old chemical storage tanks were connected to the laboratory ventilation system. If ignited, the fire could travel throughout the lower complex. It might destroy everything, including them. The malformed creatures crawled toward Marcus. He swung the axe until the blade broke. One creature bit into his injured leg. Another climbed onto his back. Lena pulled it away. Its claws tore open her forearm. P7 entered the laboratory. The smaller creatures stopped moving. They sensed it. P7 approached them. One made a weak chirping noise. P7 seized it and bit through its skull. The others tried to crawl away. It ate them one at a time. Bones snapped between its teeth. Black blood covered the floor. It consumed the final remains of its own kind without hesitation. Then it faced Lena. Marcus took a flare from the emergency kit. Go. Lena shook her head. Go. P7 charged. Marcus ignited the flare and threw it into the fuel. Fire spread across the laboratory. The Pikachu leapt through the flames. It struck Marcus in the chest. They fell together. The creature shocked him repeatedly. Each blast lifted his body from the floor. His clothes ignited. His eyes fixed on Lena. Run! The Pikachu lowered its head and tore open his stomach. Its jaws ripped through muscle. Steam rose from exposed organs. Marcus grabbed the creature and held it against himself. It buried its face deeper into his abdomen. He wrapped both arms around it. Lena understood. She ran. Marcus rolled into the fire. The Pikachu screamed. Flames swallowed them. Lena entered the maintenance tunnel as the chemical tanks ignited. The explosion lifted the floor. Concrete shattered. Fire roared through the lower rooms. The tunnel collapsed behind her. She crawled through smoke and falling debris. The heat burned her back. She reached the generator hall as the ground shook. Windows shattered. The main turbines split open. Flames rose from the maintenance tunnel. Lena staggered toward the exit. A small shape crawled from the fire behind her. P7. Its fur was gone. Its skin had burned black. One arm was missing. Half its face hung loose, exposing teeth and bone. The lightning-shaped tail dragged across the floor, but it was alive. Lena ran outside. The storm had reached its height. Rain poured across the station yard. Lightning split the sky. The Pikachu followed. Its body steamed in the rain. Every movement left pieces of burned flesh behind. Lena reached the outer gate. The creature released a weak electrical blast. Pain struck her spine. She fell into the mud. Her legs stopped responding. The Pikachu crawled toward her. Slowly, its mouth opened. A broken sound emerged. Pika. It climbed onto her back. Its claws entered her coat. Lena turned enough to see its face. One red cheek remained intact. It pulsed weakly. The collar still surrounded its neck. The emergency generator was destroyed. But the storm itself contained more than enough power. A fallen transmission cable lay nearby. Lightning had severed it from the station roof. One end rested in the mud. The other remained, connected to the collar control antenna. Lena reached for the cable. The Pikachu bit into her shoulder. Its incisors entered muscle. She screamed and pulled herself forward. The cable was inches away. The creature tore backward. Flesh ripped from her shoulder. It chewed once, swallowed, then lowered its mouth toward her neck. Lena grabbed the cable. Lightning struck the station. Power surged through the antenna. The cable flashed. Lena pressed it against the creature's collar. The control signal activated. P7 froze. Every muscle in its body contracted. Its remaining cheek swelled. The Pikachu screamed. The sound was no longer small or playful. It became a deep, distorted roar that echoed across the valley. Electricity erupted from its body. The mud around Lena boiled. The creature's red cheek burst. Burning tissue sprayed across the ground. Its eyes ruptured. Its spine arched until several vertebrae broke through the skin. The collar continued to tighten. Metal cut through muscle. The creature's head twisted sideways. Its jaw opened and closed. Pika. The collar crushed its throat. Its head separated from its body. The blackened skull rolled into the mud. The remaining electricity faded. The body twitched once, then stopped. Dawn arrived over Briar Glen 3 hours later. Emergency services entered the valley after the storm passed. They found Lena unconscious beside the ruins of Blackpine Power Station. They found the burned body of the creature nearby, or what remained of it. The official report blamed the deaths on a chemical leak, electrical failure, and mass panic caused by the storm. Blackpine was demolished. The lower laboratory was filled with concrete. Briar Glen buried 57 people. Lena spent 6 months recovering. The bite wound on her shoulder never healed correctly. The nerves in her left hand remained damaged. Sometimes, during thunderstorms, her fingers moved without her control. She never returned to Briar Glen. She moved to a coastal city hundreds of miles away, where there were no forests and no abandoned power stations. For several years, she believed P7 was dead. Then she found a clump of yellow fur in her apartment. Then 3 human teeth scattered across the floor. Lena contacted the police. They found no fingerprints, no footprints, no sign of forced entry. She installed cameras throughout her apartment. For several weeks, nothing happened. Then one camera recorded movement beneath her bed. The image was unclear. A small shape crawled through the darkness. 2 red lights opened. The recording ended in static. Lena left the apartment that night. She returned with police officers the next morning. They found deep scratches beneath the bed. A dead rat lay beside them. Its body had been cooked from the inside. The head was missing. Lena disappeared 2 days later. Her car was found outside Briar Glen. The driver's seat was covered in blood. Small tooth marks covered the steering wheel. A trail of scorched footprints led into the forest. Search teams followed the trail to the ruins of Blackpine. There, beneath a slab of broken concrete, they discovered a tunnel that had not existed during the demolition. The tunnel descended far beneath the old laboratory. The search team entered at noon. Their radios failed at 12:17. At 12:20, residents across Briar Glen reported hearing a tremendous electrical blast beneath the ground. None of the searchers returned. The tunnel was sealed. The road was closed. The forest grew over the entrance. Years passed. Briar Glen became smaller. Families moved away. Businesses closed. The school gymnasium was demolished. The workers refused to enter after dark. People continued to disappear. Hikers, hunters, curious teenagers. Sometimes pieces of them were found hanging from power lines. Sometimes their burned bodies appeared beside the road. Sometimes nothing was found except a few drops of blood and the smell of scorched hair. The people who remained in Briar Glen developed rules. They never walked beneath power lines during storms. They never followed strange lights into the woods. They never approached injured animals with yellow fur. And they never answered a voice that called from the darkness. Because P7 had survived, perhaps the caller had killed the original creature. Perhaps something had grown from the remains sealed beneath black pine. Perhaps one of the malformed Pikachu escaped before the laboratory burned. No one knows. But deep beneath the forest, there are chambers filled with bones. Human bones, animal bones, small skulls with pointed ears. Some nights, electricity glows between the trees. A yellow shape moves through the undergrowth. It watches the houses. It studies the windows. It waits for someone to step outside. And when it catches them, it does not kill them immediately. First, it shocks their legs, then their arms. It leaves them conscious, but unable to move. It sits on their chest. It listens to their breathing. It watches the fear grow in their eyes. Then it begins eating, slowly, carefully, starting with the face. So if the lights in your home begin to flicker tonight, do not assume it is the weather. If your phone fills with static, do not place it against your ear. If you hear claws moving inside the walls, do not investigate. And if something small scratches at your door and whispers its name, stay silent. Do not call for help. Do not look through the window. Do not let it know you are awake, because once it sees your face, it will remember you. And Pikachu is always hungry. Thank you for joining me for tonight's descent into darkness. Should you have enjoyed this story, leave a comment telling me which moment disturbed you most, and subscribe for more horrifying tales of monsters, forgotten experiments, and places that should have remained buried. Keep your doors locked, keep your lights low, and until our next nightmare, remember that the most dangerous monsters are not always the largest. Sometimes they are small enough to hide beneath your bed. Good night.
Whispers of a love so true, painting dreams of me and you. And I'll hold you close in this moment so divine. Whispers of